Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new edition of Low-Code Cafe, episode 66. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Bogdan Litescu. I'm the founder and CEO of Plant-on-App. And for those of you that are new to this event, know that this is something that we do every week, same day, same hour. And it's a community event, mostly technical, where we showcase new features coming into the product. We showcase lessons we learn on the support channels, on the community forums, and also the biggest chunk of this event is the hands-on part, where we either showcase complex systems, interesting techniques, or we build something from scratch. So it's a very hands-on experience more than it's a, let's say, a demo, orchestrated demo, scripted demo experience. This event is being recorded, so then all past recordings you will find on our YouTube channels. There's 65 hours of very good content in this playlist alone. So I invite you to visit, subscribe, and also subscribe to the notifications so you are notified when we publish new videos. Besides this playlist, there are a couple more playlists that are very good content as well. Some are much shorter on feature focus, and we'll hear more about that today. The agenda for today, I will give you some updates about the product roadmap, very interesting, cool stuff coming up. And then we'll have the From the Trenches segment with Dale Warner, our head of support, that will give us some interesting stories from that we discover on the support channel, and also some either high-level items on how about our support policies. And finally, the biggest chunk, it will be the hands-on part, where we'll demo a DevOps system. So it's a very cool system that we are using. We've been using for more than 1 year and kept evolving. And I also invited to present with me Andrei. He's the original creator of the system. So we'll also get in depth behind the scenes to see how we achieved whatever we had to achieve. So it will be a very interesting one. And we appreciate you getting involved, ask questions on the chat or on the Q&A section. We'd be happy to have the dialogue. Great. So let's get down to business. The first item on the agenda is, let's look at the upcoming release. So as announced in the past, we still keep the same schedule. So with the 1.17, we plan to launch the beta next Wednesday. So we launch it at this webinar. And then the release will be 2 weeks later, again, at this community webinar. The big items for this release is the app templates. So basically being able to start a new instance from a GitHub repository. But in this first release, it will be a hard-coded repository. It's just a solution that we provide, the incident management solution, which, by the way, it's on our Low-Code Academy. So that's what the fundamentals course is walking you through, building an incident management solution. And the same solution you could get from the template. So then some people, when they get onboarded, instead of building everything, maybe they start from the template and they just watch the videos to see how it was built. So, but in the following release, we plan to have multiple app templates and also allow people to create their own templates and import their own templates from GitHub repos. So it will be the next release. It will be even more interesting for this feature. We also plan to officially launch the free plan. Right now, it has been in private beta for a couple of months. You can get inside it through the Academy today, but now we want to make it public on the website with this release. And we are working a lot on streamlining the experience on the website, on the sign up, but also inside the product. So what you'll see here, a big part of what 1.17 is about is a major UI revamp. So maybe you see here in the backend different menu with more options, better experience, For example, this is the API endpoint screen modernized, so it's already looking very good. So I will do a demo of this release on Friday at the Low-Code Campfire. For those of you that do not know, Campfire is it's another event that we have weekly on Fridays, where we get together with the community. It's more like a conversation rather than like this event, which is more like a presentation mode. So I invite you all to participate, see the new feature functionalities firsthand. Good. I think that was from my part. If there are no questions about this, I would like to invite Dale to take it over and give us the From the Trenches segment.
Good deal. Good morning, wherever you are. Oops, not that one. That was the end webinar for all button. I don't want to click that. Okay. Hello from the trenches. Couple of things this week to talk about. I've been mentioning it in the preceding webinars, but just wanted to give one last shout out that the major discount that we're giving to our DNN Sharp clients expires at the end of this week. So if you're a DNN Sharp client and you've been wondering about Plantain app, now is the time to act. Bogdan mentioned our release calendar, and I'll just give you a little peek behind the scenes at what we're doing. This is the working release calendar where we track when the release is code freeze and our alpha begins. So that's going to happen this time on the 29th of October. We go on to do our live QA. So there's an internal QA process. We release it for beta testing on Wednesday the 3rd. That'll be during Low-Code Café, this event. We also internally do production beta testing on our sites. And so we, as a policy, upgrade our sites and provide a bake time. So that happens early in the beta cycle, and then that gives us at least a week. And then our plan again is official release on the 17th, assuming we have no showstoppers. And it's just great to see that we have a regular release calendar, a regular release cycle that we're planning to do as we move forward. And so we'll announce these dates, excuse me, as we go from release to release. This week we formalized some longstanding support policies, and so if you're interested on the DNN Sharp website, which you should all have access to, there is the company DNN Sharp policies that you can find, and down at the bottom we've added a support policy. This just will clarify exactly again the things that we're already doing. There's nothing new here with regard to policies, but there are special sections having to do, for example, with we are retaining Action Form and Search Boost as products that we sell and support. And so this tells exactly about what the policies around that is. Okay. And then the people who are using the legacy DNN Sharp modules, because we no longer sell those, there's policies particularly around them, and I encourage you, if you're in that circumstance, to read through those policies. We also talk about the need for a current DNN platform and what that looks like, how to keep that up to date, and just some of our other policies about what we do, the fact that we test, that you should plan for upgrades on an ongoing basis, how we deal with compatibility with other things. So take a look at the support policies if those apply in your circumstance. So on to the more technical part of today's From the Trenches segment. We had a query, a community post, and if you're not involved in the community portal, I encourage you to do so. That's community.plantainapp.com. This is a place where you can ask questions and get great answers. I am always encouraged. We on the support team work to answer the questions that go in here, but it's so encouraging when the community supports each other with answers, and there's been great answers this last week on a number of questions. But we got a question about Search Boost, and the query really amounts to how do I want to do a search within and return JSON data. So rather than just displaying a search result, I want to do a query of my site's contents, submit a query, get information back, and then do something with it. And it doesn't really matter what you're going to do with it. You might display it in a better or different format. You might want to make some database entries, but this then is about how to do that within JSON. So a couple of things with that. One, I posted the answer here. There's a server request action that you can do, and this describes how to post that, how to create that server request post that will allow you to search the database. And so you could just import this directly into your project and modify it or use it as a model. And then we often do answers and point to, in this case, Campfire, and it's going to take a moment to load up, but just to demonstrate the technique in question directly and show how it works. In this case, I have a search query of the site where we can click and get a search of the word JSON or whatever we type here. And this is the information that comes back. So I searched for JSON within my site, and I got back a number of entries. We could take a look at this. Actually, there's a link here. I'm going to paste this into a nice viewer so that we can see what comes back. So we get the description and the URL about where this content exists, how to get there. So there's really a lot of information that can be returned back from Search Boost, and this demonstrates it. If you, Bogdan has already mentioned Campfire, this is our Friday event, and participants in Campfire that want it can get access to these solutions and look at the code behind. So attend Campfire. That's another hour we want you to invest. We only ask 2 hours a week, right? That's easy. And then we had another one, another question that came in about importing a workflow from Git. So first, I'll just mention that this is a video, and the link will be on the, we'll put it on the chat here in a minute. But this is a video on our YouTube channel. This is this low-code feature focus playlist. And it's just 5 minutes and explains how to do it. But I thought I would cover it a little bit because I think it's kind of interesting. The idea is that if you have a website, an app set up, and on your general tab, you have set up version control, which is done by creating a connector that's for GitHub, and then on your general tab, you set version control to GitHub. This allows that your all the content from within your app gets pushed automatically to your GitHub repository. And so if I were to browse this repository, we can see all the different kinds of content. There's APIs, there's the things that are done in App Builder, the pages, the scheduler jobs, the variables or tokens. And so in this case, under the App Builder folder, that's where the workflows exist. There's also entities, but I'm going to go into workflows and look at a particular workflow. Workflow 5, it says it's the create new card with ID workflow number 5. And so you could go in and find the file. This is the current state of this, but if you were to look in the history, you'd be able to find prior versions. And so this gives you the files that would be involved if you want to pull this back. Currently, we don't have, this is the area where we're working on the product, improving it so that you could automatically pull back information from a repository, an old version of a workflow, for example. But for now, it can be done manually if you need to. These two things, the workflow JSON and then the diagram, these two files, the diagram is the illustration of how your workflow is laid out. all the start and end and all the steps in the middle. These two things put together will allow you to re-import. Those two things together define what the workflow is. And the video that I mentioned, this low-code feature focus, shows how to put those two things together so that you could import a prior version from Git. We'll make this automatic in the versions to come, but for now, at least it's a good explanation of why you should have your app connected to a repository, because all the old information, all the changes are stored in the repository, and you'll be able to retrieve them back. And then just pointing out that it is possible to pull information back from the repository, though it's a manual process at this point. So that's from the trenches today. And so now we can go on to the low-code hands-on part with Bogdan and Andrei.
Thanks, Dale. Let me go back at sharing my screen. Cool. So the main topic for today is building a DevOps system. But before that, maybe let me give you the most generic explanation I could find out there for what DevOps means in organizations. So this definition I actually grabbed from AWS site. So DevOps is the combination of cultural philosophies, practices, and tools that increase an organization's ability to deliver applications and services at high velocity. So basically, the moment that you get to have, let's say, more than one system, but even one system can be automated, but let's say you have 5 different systems that you maintain for your customers or for internal use, then, you know, as we all know, problems start to appear. Like, it's difficult to keep everything at the same versions, to have to maybe push something automated to all the instances, push updates, or maybe get the logs all in the same place so you can see errors in all the website without having to go through each. You know, so there's a lot of automation and a lot of practices that we all do that in a big umbrella they are called DevOps. And the system that I want to talk about today, it's our internal system, and we'll show it also a bit under the hood, how it was built. We call it build.internal, and it basically allows us to do a couple of different things, from release management, that is like the let's say the core functionality of it. So whenever you install a release from a plant and app, that's something that is connected to this system. That's how when you install an app builder module, knows what versions, what dependency it needs to install as well. But before a release becomes published, of course, there's a lot of intermediary steps while building it, testing it, documenting change notes. So there's many items attached to it. And finally, it's the updates and the hotfixes part. You know, so after we make a release until we make the next release, in between, there's many issues that appear that would require an immediate fix. So they cannot wait for the next release. So then these releases, as you know, they go in the plant and app in the update section as hotfixes. So again, behind the scenes, we will show you today, we have a process that takes care of deciding which hotfixes need to go out. But also the entire process of building these hotfixes, because you'll see today that this system is actually connected to many other different systems of ours or external. You know? So external means that, for example, we use Git. So whenever developers commit their code to GitHub, that's when the build process starts. You know, so there is a new build, and then the build gets attached to a release or to a hotfix on top of an existing release. You know, so there's a chain of events that happen most of the time. Most of it, like 98%, it happens automatically. And finally, a new section that we are building now is the system and deployment management. So basically managing all of our systems in one place, knowing the versions that they're on, and in the future also deploy automatically on them. And also another big thing that is coming that I mentioned it earlier is the beta program. So the beta program is a section that will live on the community portal that we already have. But again, it's one of those systems that will need to connect to build.internal to get the release list, to get the change notes. So it has accurate data without us having to manually push it or upload it or anything like that. Because I think this is part of what DevOps mission is, to deliver application and services at higher and higher velocity, automating all these items. Because without automation, we know that things start to fall behind, things start falling through the cracks, because we all have so many things to do in a single day. Cool. So this is the big picture of it. I think it'll be much cooler once I start to show you a bit of its functionalities. And after I show it a bit, I will invite Andrei to show you under the hood the architecture, how we build it with Plantain app. Which, by the way, this is a story that we start telling our customers, our leads in sales, and we want to put it on the website as well. The story where we eat our own dog food, because we have, I think, around 15 different systems right now that are built with Plantain app that covers various functions of our business. So I think we are a very successful low-code story as users as well. So that's very cool. Okay, so let me show you a bit this system. So I will start with the releases. This is like the central piece of the system. So basically here you will see a list with all releases. 1.16 got out a couple of weeks ago. 1.17 is coming. So then you'll see here some metadata about this release, some statuses, some dates. Behind this release, so I will drill down. There are the packages. So basically, a release contains a series with specific versions of various components. So 1.16 contains 5.16.07 for API endpoint, and form is 5.16.12, and so on. So whenever you install Plantain app, it installs as a bundle of all these packages. Of course, we could also get manual links to each of the packages, but normally everything is done automatically nowadays. So this connects directly to what you see. So let me show to the update section. Maybe this went to sleep in the meantime. So let's see. But this connects automatically to the updates and the packages that you see in the product. So for example, if I go to updates, to the overview, all these versions that you will see here, they will come from the other system. Of course, this is a 1.17 instance, so it's an alpha instance, so it will not get the versions that I just showed you, but the ones on the 17th release. And then, of course, there's other things that all are coming from the build.internal. So every Plantain app instance out there knows to connect to build.internal to get things like that, the packages, to get the available hotfixes, and to get change logs as well, the change log as well. Of course, for 1.17 we don't have one yet, but let me jump back a bit, and I think I will go through the next section, which is just that, the change notes. So, for example, the entire changelog that you see in the product on that screen comes from this section right here. So in this section, we have various attributes about each item to define the area of the product it affects, to define the build it was included on, to define the type, enhancement, bug fix, security fix, feature, things like that. And then, of course, we have statuses. based on the status, we publish it so it displays in the release notes or not. Some you'll notice that we have two statuses, and then that will be an interesting, very interesting section that Andrei will demo, because some of these builds also are published in the DNN Sharp world, some are not. So from here we control which of the releases go to which change notes list. Cool. So this again, it's a big release notes management. It's a big item for us because it helps us be more and more consistent with our releases. Another big item here that I will show, and then I will leave Andrei to give us a bit of insights, is the systems. This is something that we started investing in the past couple of weeks, is keeping track of all our systems. So these are all of our systems. Some are test. That's why there are 20. There are around 15 right now that we use in production for ourselves. And then we keep here track of each version, each DNN version, their own. We know who is the system owner. We know the priorities of the system, like how critical it is if it goes down, things like that. And then from here, we have started building new processes. Like this shouldn't be in production. I mean, this is a misreporting, but if we had system like this, these are very old systems. They shouldn't live like this. So we'll build processes that flag items as high risk and things like that. So yes, maintaining 15 different systems is challenging when you don't have processes like this. And of course, besides these 15, we have, I think, a couple more, like 30 more instances that are demo instances, with various use cases. Again, it's something that we want to maintain on a regular basis. So I'm hoping that by now you see the variety of let's say, processes that can be automated around delivering a product or a service to customers or to internal teams or departments. From the moment that maybe a change request gets in, from the, let's say, the idea moment up to it's live and we are monitoring, we are maintaining it. So it's many different things. Some nice utilities also in here. For example, maybe you notice in some of the screens, so let me go to workflows, for example. In some of the screens, you'll notice this help text here that basically gives you, like, there are videos that give you some intros about various aspects of the current screen. So these links are actually not hard-coded in the product. So at any point, we can push new links to the product by changing them here. So here, for example, we have a feature, which is the section, like for the workflows. For the workflows are the last three. And then each of the links has a title. And of course, we have a minimum version of plant an app from where they start to appear, an icon, and a link where they point to. So if I wanted to add a new link now to the workflow screen, I would just do it from here. I would say maybe 1.16, so everyone that has a newer version than 1.16 will see it. So little things like that help decouple some problems from the actual developers, because if I didn't have this, I would have to go to a developer to plan changing this for the next release, create work items, QA, test it. So it was a much bigger team effort, and it will have taken a lot more effort than just adding here, which takes me 1 minute. So yeah, the idea of DevOps is people. There are platforms out there that do only DevOps, but we find that Plant an App and Low-Code gives us the ability to really automate, personalized on who we are. If we had adopted a platform, and we tried a couple in the past, it's always what do they offer, and then you are stuck with that. We couldn't have done something like this easily in any platform, but in Plant an App, it took us maybe 2-3 hours to do both the code and the management here. So these kind of things we are seeing a rise in the market amongst our customers, but in the overall market, building DevOps system, DevOps automation, DevOps processes with low code. So this is the system at let's say a big level. I think let's look under the hood. So I would like to invite Andrei to take it over and show us a bit what's under the hood, some the architecture of it, the implementation of it.
Yeah, sure. Hello everyone. I'm Andrei from DNN, and today I will present and explain to you a bit how everything that Bogdan showed you earlier was created and implemented. As a completing note on the system part, here, the thing that is really nice here is that we can say that all the systems created by Plant and App are communicating with this internal DevOps system, because every change note and every release note that Bogdan showed you earlier comes from here. We are planning to also create a one-click install button from this section, from build.internal. So let's say if I wanted to upgrade DNN Sharp to a newer version, we will have a button here, and just the update will be just one click away. What I want to show you first about this system is what everything was built on, and that's our entities. We have here the releases that are the most important, the builds, the package dependencies that are all have in common the releases. I will show you the dependency view here. And as you can see, the builds are related to the release versions, the release changes that are all assigned to the same entity. So we are using the release as the main entity here. Okay, for example, I will show you the package dependency, which Bogdan showed you earlier, which are related to builds, and builds are related to releases. How they are in the back. So package dependency has the package, which is, for example, action form, API endpoint, action grid. It has the release version, the release to whom is linked to, and the build itself, the build number. What I want to show you next is the workflow that and all the workflows that are in the back, and I want to demonstrate how easily we can use the workflows. For example, in the releases part, the releases page, we have here the code freeze action, and in the back of this button, we use a workflow just to make it more simple in case in the future you want to add more things to it. So for example, this is a very simple workflow with a partially update. It's very simple, but maybe in the future, if you want to upgrade this functionality, the code freeze functionality, you just come here and upgrade it. You just don't have to go to that page to edit the action grid, to search for the button, and modify all the actions that are there, which makes everything more simpler. Okay. Next, I want to show you the StartBuild workflow, which is a very, very big part of this process, which makes everything in the back. But on another note, Before showing you these workflows, I wanted to mention that we have another system which is making everything in the back, which creates the plant and app builder zip and all the files that are required for the app builder to function. And everything starts from a button that it's called build, and when you hit the build button, that one is going to execute this GetNextVersion workflow, which where we are sending the product. So let's, for example, let's say action form and the branch, and this will automatically generate the new version that it will be sent to the StartBuild workflow, and the continue message that will allow that workflow to execute. So for example, here what is doing in the back, it gets the actual version, and if there is no build, it will check for the version and it will increment the minor version, and if not, it will increment the build version for it, and all of the branches generates a JSON object that are sent to an API. Okay. And next, I will show you the StartBuild workflow, which is more bigger and more complex and even a little bit complicated, where everything is created here. And this workflow executes that workflow again to make sure that everything is in place and that the version is not wrong. It creates the build. Then it decides that if the release version, the actual release version where the build came from, was released or not, this will decide if the build itself will be a hotfix or a release for that product. Another interesting part would be that on the packages part, so the packages means all the products that we have, so action form, action grid, and so on. We have a checkbox here, which is published to DNN Sharp. And if this checkbox is checked, when we are making a new release or a new build, all the builds or hotfixes are going to be sent through an API to the DNN Sharp site, so everyone can access them from there, from their product page or from the downloads page. And for example, we have here the create hotfix build on DNN Sharp, which is a very simple one that gets the build data and calls an DNN Sharp API that automatically will create and insert everything in the DNN Sharp website.
Maybe Andrei open some of these actions so we can also look at their configuration.
Yeah, sure. This is a server request to the DNN Sharp website.
Yeah.
That calls the new build API, where we are sending the project name, that means the product, the build number, the URL that will help you to download the product, and some release info like product code and build type.
I think this is a very, very good example where you can see how easy it is to integrate with other systems, because basically DNN Sharp did its own builds for many years, but now that we moved all the logic to plant an app, is how do we sync DNN Sharp, you know? So this way of passing data and feeding it to another system that run its own processes, you know, because this API that we call here on the DNN Sharp does its own processes, or where does the build go, who can get it when. And I think this, imagine if we had to do this manually.
Yeah. And this create hotfix build workflow is even more simpler, but a complex one is the one that publish all the builds to DNN Sharp, which is making more work than the other one. And this is loading all the package dependencies and is publishing every one of them by loading like all the package dependencies from a release. So if you're going to this one, this action, the get package dependencies, will load every package dependencies from this release, and it will send each of them to the DNN Sharp side. And we are also using a lot of APIs that are connected with these workflows. But we also have, for example, an API that it's for on build complete. So at the end of a build, what this does is updates the status of a build if it fails or if it was completed, and it also creates the hotfix on DNN Sharp and also on the build.internal, where you can see them here. And yes, it is a very complex system, but it helps a lot and makes everything automated, and it's very useful for us.
Yeah. I'm wondering if there are any questions. I would love to hear questions, or how do you do it today? How do you manage this kind of maintenance task on the services or systems that you maintain for yourself or for your customers? I would love to get these questions in the chat, so we address them. In the meantime, I think maybe an interesting part here is maybe to show the start build process in a bit more detail, because I think that is basically where data gets into the system. So most of the screens that you see, we don't go manually and add new build action form 113 on this date. They come automatically from GitHub, and this is the workflow that does this. So maybe Andrei, you can go into showing some of this action, the settings. How do we get it from GitHub? What do we do with it?
Yeah. So starting this workflow, firstly we check a branch to see from where should the build go, and that's very important for the build to know to what release should be linked. After the verifying of the version, it creates a JSON, and that JSON is going to an SQL part where we are splitting some product informations that are sent forward to the build creation part. This is a plant and app action, which is created by the builds entity. And that, as you can see, we are putting here all the informations that are coming from the past actions from this workflow. And again, we are checking for what branch and if the branch was published. And this is here where the workflow is making a decision if the build is going to be a hotfix or a package dependency. That's kind of it.
Bogdan, we did get a question. Mark asks, do we manage our product documentation through these systems also?
Actually, we have a different system that is very cool. Radu built it. Radu with Patrick built it a couple of weeks ago. We started using it intensively. I'm actually trying to log into it, but for sure it will be something that Radu will show to us probably in near future. So let me.
So the answer is yes, we're getting there. The old way, the old method of documentation was more manual, and you're absolutely, it's a great point, because it's an ongoing piece of what we need to do, and automating it makes sense.
Yes.
And that's really the value of build.internal, what we're doing with it. There's so many things that need to happen, and to be able to build that in a defined process and letting the data and the process drive the result, rather than having checklists and did you remember to and things like that.
Yep. We still have, let's say, the 5% where we do this. We have checklists for some of the items, and that's where it's a mess. So yeah, we are aiming to automate all of it. So it just becomes clicks of the button. It becomes reminders that remind us to click that button, or things like that.
Are you bringing up AutoDoc?
Yes, Andrei, can you stop sharing, because I cannot.
Yes.
Cool. So yes, so let me share my screen. I don't know how to use this system very well. It's a brand new system, but basically here, everything that you see on learn.plantinette.com, it's managed through the system. Although it could be done manually. So let me also bring this up. Although it could be done manually, because behind the scenes, it's a GitHub repo with Markdown syntax. So we could theoretically go and manually change all these pages in the documentation by clicking here. And this is, by the way, public repository. So if you want to contribute any content, you'll still be able to do it here by opening a pull request. But basically, the way the team does it today is they've built this system where they have change notes about everything. So if I edit something, I'm not sure I know how to use this system yet. So for example, the entities under getting started, I can download the Markdown if I want from here, from what I can tell. And if I edit the custom version, you see we built a Markdown editor here. So on the left, you have the Markdown syntax. On the left, you have the preview. So then
I'll just note at the bottom of that, there's the Markdown versus what you see is what you get on that bottom right. And this is a great thing that they've added to the documentation so that we can edit in what you see is what you get, but it still produces Markdown.
Oh, yeah, very cool, very good. Yeah, because Markdown, I mean, it's a bit for more technical people of it, but then non-technical people, it's a challenge. So then, exactly, if I do this one, then this will reflect in Markdown somewhere. Yeah, I don't know where.
Yep,
oh,
there
here.
it is. Yep. And then I guess in thinking about the automation, part of what we're doing with this is, and again, I don't want to steal Radu's thunder when he talks about this, but we're pulling the text that is part of the actions and the inline documentation and pulling it back to create a actual documentation. So we're making it more of a maintain in one place product, rather than having to keep the documentation in the product matching the documentation that we publish.
Yeah. So basically, the help text that you see here, they will be the same as in documentation, managed in one place. So then again, we don't have to remember to update a different place as well. It's all coming from the same place.
So Bogdan, you might take a look. There are a couple of questions from Jim on the chat.
Okay, so the question is, what is the process behind the dynamic info data with links? I'm not sure I understand.
I think that's when you published the question mark, the things that go directly into the product. So the help question,
okay.
I think that's what he's asking about.
Okay, cool. So I think, there is no magical process. The list that is here, it's put as JSON, and it's the product connects to it, I think, once a day. It stores it on local cache inside the browser. So then it's not consuming our server, and then once a day it refreshes its copy, or even rare, I think maybe once a week, or on upgrades, something like that. So basically, that's when they get it gets the JSON from this system and stores it in local storage inside the browser. It's not cached on the server, just per browser.
So it queries an API, and that the feature that it's connected to tells it where to display it. So behind the scenes, the question mark has a look at my JSON and publish publish the list.
Yes, and in fact, we have another system. So the platforms don't talk directly to this build.internal. The platforms talk to a system we call services.plantanet.com, and that service handles many functions. Some functions are routed to this system. Other functions like licensing is routed to a different system. So the services is let's say the main hub into our internal systems. The gateway into our internal systems.
Mm-hmm. There's a second question here from Jim as well.
Yes, the second question is, could the build.internal design model be used to manage dev test production migrations? We'll have a different process for that, but normally, yes, it's something that we could definitely do here, and something that we are doing to some extent. So for example, when we have this release in alpha, when we do the code freeze, it changes to beta automatically, which also triggers some new packages to be deployed on self-rate. So then we have beta instances with a different package. It doesn't do, let's say, updates or migrations of data from dev to staging and to production yet, but this is something that's coming. The app templates feature is the big step towards having being able to move content more easily between environments, and then I think these things will be easy to automate, because yes, in the system screens that we showed here, some of these have multiple environments. The critical systems have multiple environments. We don't do upgrades directly on the production. So yes, that's a pattern that can be done for sure. Okay. Sounds good. I see Mark is offering to help with the documentation if he had a simple process. So yeah, we appreciate it. And this project just started, the Autodoc, but for sure it will get easier, and we'll open it up. So it's easy for anyone to do this, for sure. Sounds good. I've been wanting to do this webinar for a long time because I think it's on the complex spectrum of use cases that we see on Plant&App. So the DevOps usually it's a complex stuff not because everything is a complex algorithm, but it's because it's a lot of moving pieces, which are usually also in different teams or departments, and that's when things get slowed down in real life because you have to wait for people to become a priority for them. Whereas when you build it like this automatically, it saves a lot of time, and it becomes painless. It becomes something that just happens as you do the actual job. For us, the actual job is to build a platform, add features, add enhancement, and get them in the hands of our customers as soon as possible. So thanks all for being here. I'm hoping that this was interesting to you. I'm hoping that you'll start thinking that, oh, I need a DevOps system. I didn't know it can be done with Plant&App. And thanks, Dale and Andrei, for presenting today. Very good content. And we'll be seeing each other next week, same day, same hour. Thanks, everyone.